Hello, welcome to On the Money podcast with John Manyike. I am not John Manyike. And with us today is the lawyer. The last time you did this on the Money, apparently you broke the numbers.
It blew. So, in a maintenance matter, your side or your steady or your girlfriend, right, can claim maintenance for the child you guys have together from your wife. If you're married in community of property.
Wow. If we married in community of property.
Correct.
That is big. But today we're talking about something else, right?
Of course.
Today we're talking about estate planning.
Yes.
Today we're talking about wills. The subject that I would hazard a guess and say most people are not comfortable with. You know, we deal with people and we try to say, hey, Emuna, do you have a will? And the first instance is Obajompolai.
Exactly. And they come, the first thing they ask you is like, oh, but why are we talking about that? Imagine asking your mom, Mama, she's 50, Mama, do you have a will? And then why?
Why? Unyakang.
And then worse is that they hide it. Wow. So even if they do have it, they would not bring it down and say, my children, this is what I have.
Yes, what I have.
Because they're scared that, there's this whole, conspiracy that all the parents have that, no, if my kids know what I have, what I've done, what I've given to who and to where, then they'll kill me.
Wow. But let's start there.
Let's go. Let's
what
take it
is
to the top.
This thing called estate planning?
Okay, so estate planning is, I look at it as a journey. It's a route. You take it from the day you start accumulating money to the day you die, and you would hopefully want to have maintained it even after you die.
Wow.
Right? So obviously there's different tools for estate planning. So it's your will. A will is a tool for estate planning, right? There's your trusts. That's a tool,
so
right?
There's a will, there's a trust.
There is a marital regime.
There's a marital regime.
And then obviously there's things like your tax deductions, your tax, how you treat, but that needs a tax practitioner, right, to deal with that. So I always look at it, it's a journey. How do you capitalize on your wealth? How do you maximize it? And how do you protect it?
Let's start with the will. So we said there's three of them, right?
Yeah.
Let's start. What is this thing called a will?
So a last will and testament is a document that you draft, you sign, right, that specifies what you want must happen to your assets after you die. So for a will to be valid, you need to be over the age of 16, right?
So
and
there's an age thing?
There's an age thing, yes. Yeah. So, but if you're over the age of 16, but you're not of sound mind.
So you need to be of sound, not just 16
and of sound mind, right? So of sound mind, I think it's very plainly put. So the person who does a will, the male, get testator.
Testator.
Musadi is testatrix.
Testatrix. So we are in the English lesson.
Yes.
And a learning
of course,
lesson.
yes.
Let's go for it.
So you as a testator, because umunna, right, a male, have to. So you come to me, we consult, right? And we sit down and you tell me what your will looks like. I draft it for you, right? You have to initial each and every page. Because now you can imagine, if you don't initial, it means you don't agree to everything that has been on that page. But remember section 2, 3, even if you miss a page, the court can later say, no, but he signed at the end. The intention was to enter the will, so push it through.
So we look at the intention.
You look at the intention. Right? That's what the court will look at. I mean, there's different case law where they've looked at different things, but if you miss a page by mistake, I mean, it's not a train smash.
We can deal
and
with
then you need to sign in front of 2 witnesses, right?
Two.
So
if I have 2 wives,
they can sign.
Can they be part if they are part of the beneficiaries of the will?
That's what I was about to ask you. Are your wives beneficiaries of your will?
All 4 of them are the beneficiaries. Can I just pick random 2 and put them in there?
I would advise the people who are beneficiaries in your will, don't put them as witnesses, because obviously then it comes through as
that. So it doesn't invalidate the will, but then they should ordinarily not be part of those that are the witnesses to the will. Let's talk about the validity of the will, because we've seen it even in most recent in some royal houses. Wills have been contested, right? What are the grounds from which a will can be contested?
It's forged. So if you believe that your father, say for instance, passes away, and there's a will that now comes from, I don't know, maybe your brother decides that, no, there's a will here, and he comes the day you know how we are as Basotho, ne? The day of the funeral, hunta will.
Yes.
It's a guy really It's been signed by him. It's been written by his hand, and he says, "No, guys, this is our father's will." Right? And you come to to me and say, "Cool, I don't think that's the real will. That will is forged. It cannot be the last and will and testament of our father." Okay. Then we have to actually go to court, and the only people who can declare a will invalid is the court. Yes.
But what if sometimes we sit there around the fire,
and you speak. Right? Unfortunately, he didn't put it down on paper, because another formality is you have to put it down on paper.
So it has to be on paper. It can't be something that
it can't be a conversation. No. It has to be written down, and it has to, like I said, the different witnesses, the formalities of that. But actually, another one would be an electronic will. So those actually do exist as well, right? But it's a little bit difficult and different on how you need to formalize that.
In this world of the fourth industrial revolution, I imagine most of us type these things and we have electronic signatures, etc., etc. What are the requirements in terms of the electronic or the digital will?
If I was your attorney and you wanted to sign your will electronically, you need to have had it signed in front of a commissioner of oath. I'll take it to the top and make sure I am secure. I'm securing you and whoever's going to benefit from you in future. Because what I don't want to do is put your beneficiaries in a position where they're actually going to have to fight it out. So I'll say get a commissioner. Same thing with if you're on your deathbed and you can't even write, right? You can't, you can hear me. I'm asking you, do you want your will to say yes, this? You nod, right? You continue, we're moving, and I'm drafting the will as I'm going, right? You can then, what I can do is take your finger and stamp.
So the thumbprint will qualify as a signature.
It qualifies as a signature. But then again, it must be done in front of a commissioner. So it's the witnesses plus the commissioner.
Right.
To say, yes, indeed, this is the stamp of this person.
The will's business sounds interesting.
No, it
sounds very interesting.
It is.
But here's the scenario, right? So I have a friend,
of course,
right, who was married Kholofelo. Right, customary marriage, right?
So they're married,
They married in customary, but it was never
signed,
a home affairs registered marriage, right? And for some reason, the gent decided, nah, I think there's somebody else that I want to live with, right? And gents leave and then go stay with somebody else, and for a period, right? And they start building these businesses, and unfortunately, the gent passed away. Right? The first wife has kids. What is her entitlements, if any, in the absence of a will?
So, Interstate Succession Act has a ranking. So if you die without a will, it means you die interstate, right? So now the state, the government, the act determines who gets what.
Wow.
Right? That's why it's very important to have a will, because you can then decide. You have the freedom of testation, that's what we call it, to decide what goes where. If you don't decide, the state will decide for you. There's a ranking, right? Section 2.1 is the ranking, and I'm saying go read Section 2.1.
Section 2.1?
Yes, of the Interstate Succession Act will tell you who starts. So they say if you have a spouse, no kids, the spouse gets everything.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Number 2, if you've got a spouse with kids, the spouse will get what they call a child share.
All right.
Right, which is a portion determined by government by default. It's in the government gazette. I think now it's about 250,000 rand, right? So if you're sitting with an estate, or if you have assets worth 500,000 rand, by default your wife will get 250. It's called child share, right? And then the rest of the 250 will then be divided amongst your wife and all your children.
Wow.
So even those children from the other steady that you went and had with, they can then have a claim towards the
other portion, not the first portion.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
But I want to reiterate, before the issue of your interstate or the estate portion, kicks in, your marital regime starts. That's the first thing that kicks in first, your marital regime, and then the Interstate Succession Act. So, but you remember now, we were working with 500,000 rand, So, because you're married in community property, it halves, ne? Right. So now we're only dealing with the 250, and because she's your spouse, ne? There's only 250 left. So technically speaking, in reality, she's gonna get everything.
Wow.
because it's the half of the 250 from the marital regime, and it's the other half because child share according to the government gazette. Okay, so you have wife and kids, then you have only kids. If it's only kids, the kids get equally share.
Oh, you divided
amongst the kids. All of them. Everyone must come and yes. And if someone is saying that no, if your steady comes to a funeral and they love it, they come to a funeral and they come to the wife and say, Ashomung.
Wow.
Whenever you don't know as a wife that this is your husband's child, right? Wow. I always say who pleads or who alleges must prove.
I was about to ask, how do we know?
Exactly, yeah. So now paternity would be going to maybe the uncle, the brother of the dad to check blood.
And check
because paternity is the father's side, DNA testing, yes. Right. So you must prove that this child that came at the funeral on the last hour is your husband's child.
Is on the other party.
The steady to prove that this is your husband's child.
Wow.
And then after that, you have parents. So you have no kids, but you have parents. So your parents get equally. Your parents, then after parents, if you've got no parents, it's your siblings. Yes. After siblings, it's uncles, aunts. After uncles and aunts, it is cousins. After cousins, and you have no family at all, like zero. It goes to the government. It goes back to the government.
Talking about biological parents,
yes,
right? Because
correct.
Lo and behold, I am married, she passes away, I'm the only one.
Yeah.
And now I have 4 parents, but I'm the only child.
Exactly. Your biological parents.
So it's specifically biological parents.
Correct.
Right. Let's go back to the marital regime.
Yes.
Because right? It does. Right. Take me through the critical aspects of the marital regime and why is it important in the context of estate planning.
Perfect. Okay. So like I said before, it's a tool, right? And the reason why it's a tool because it's part of how are you protecting your assets. It's the last part. Remember I said capital, maximize, protect.
Yes.
How do you protect, right? So marital regime, there's 3. We currently have 3 marital regimes. There is in-community property, which is the one we all know. The one we default to if you do not enter into any of the other two, right? Yes. So this one says, and I look at it as a fruit basket. You come with your apples, I come with my bananas, right? Whatever we do when we get married, it forms part of this beautiful fruit basket that we have, right? If I have debts, it forms part of this beautiful basket that we have, right? It's a pain to this, it's a bite to my apple. The apple is not full, it's coming with a bite. You know what I mean? And this entire basket is then, you look at it in the sense that whatever affects the basket, you need consent from the other person.
All right.
So whatever, if I want to go and buy a car, I'm adding to the basket, remember, right?
Yeah.
I need to ask you for permission because you are you're touching the basket. Wow. So remember the child maintenance?
Yes, absolutely.
The steady is touching the basket. She's a creditor. She's affecting the joint estate. That's what she's actually doing, and that's why she will be liable for maintenance, for child maintenance, because she's affecting the basket that we started as a result of in-community property, and because we are married and we've put our foods together.
All right.
And then we have the second marital regime, right? So I look at, so it's out of community property with the accrual, and out of community property without the accrual, right? So I'm going to start with the accrual because it's a bit more complicated than the other one. The other one is simple. Your basket, my basket. Whatever I do, I take. Whatever you do, I take. Whatever assets I had before, it's yours. Whatever assets I have, mine. Debt, same thing. You don't touch anything. I don't touch yours, you don't touch mine. Right? With the accrual comes in, and what happens is that you come into our marriage and we decide that what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. Right? We've decided this. Right? So on your antenuptial contract will start as a net, or let's say your starting value would be 0 because you're coming in with nothing. You're coming with clean hands.
Yes.
Even though you may have something at the back, you may have a property that's on you. Yes, right. A marriage doesn't just end on divorce; it ends on death as well. Remember, I said earlier on that when you die, right, you automatically get divorced. Like if you want to put it it's gone. Yeah, so then your marital regime kicks in. Remember, it kicks in. Once it kicks in, then whatever must happen to the assets happens, right?
All right.
So you die or you get divorced, right? So then you your post-commencement value or your post value. So the value you die or you get divorced at is 500,000.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And mine is 1 million.
Yeah.
Right? And it's 1 million because you take all my assets and you minus by my liabilities, and my net worth as a person is 1 million rand. Yours is 500,000 rand, right? This is during the course of the marriage. This is what I've obtained, this is what you've obtained. Right?
All right.
So now, this is now where the maths comes in.
Let's do the maths.
Let's do the maths. Yeah. So now we take the one with the most. So my 1 million minus your 500,000, right? It's 500,000.
Yeah.
Then we half that amount, which is 250.
Yes.
That 250 is called the accrual.
Aha.
And that accrual means that, right? When you say with accrual, the one with the most must give to the one with the least. And that's called the accrual claim.
Wow.
So, for instance, in a death scenario, you die and we were married with the accrual, right? Then what will happen is that I, as the person who's alive, will have a claim, an accrual claim on your estate.
On the estate.
Before, even if you have a will or not, before the will it takes place, or even before interstate kicks in, I'll be able to claim my 250 from your estate, and then whatever's left can be decided based on the will or the interstate.
So I have a will.
Yeah.
We've proven that this will is a valid will. In my will, I'm saying, yes, we married.
But you want me to inherit nothing?
Yes, I give it to the cat.
Your marital regime kicks in first.
Ah.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter.
No.
Does it mean it overrides?
It doesn't override, but it goes first.
It goes first.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't want to say overrides because now it's going to be like overriding is a very tough word to put as one starts, but by default, your executor, and that's something also we must discuss, an executor will know or should know, or your administrator of your estate will know that he was married. How was he married? On the top of your what they call a liquidation and distribution account, which is the account at the end after everything you found out how much money he's got. No. There's a mathematical way they decide at the end, but what goes to who goes to where. At the top, the heading says Ntate XYZ married in community property.
Yes.
Or Ntate Mang married after community property with accrual, with the accrual.
All right.
It's stated at the top. Reason why? Because the accrual starts in, it kicks in first. That's why the accrual claim is the first claim that is able to be taken by me on your estate.
So apart from just having a valid will, right? The estate planning is also impacted by the type of marriage regime that you are.
It is definitely.
It's definitely.
Because now, if you have a plan and your plan in life is to retire at 40, right? And my plan is to work until I die, right?
Yes.
My plan will at a time. You'll know that you need to start saving, you need to start putting things away. But now if you're married in community property and I'm living my best life and I know my man is going to take care of me, right? What does it do? It affects the estate plan. It affects your plan.
Oh, wow.
Do you see? No, so now when I create a debt, I know the apple, the baskets, it will take care of it.
Wow.
So that's why the marital regime is an estate planning tool.
What determines the validity of somebody to qualify as an executor? Will?
Well, over the age of 18, they just must be nominated.
So I can choose my cousin's cousin?
You can choose
as long as a fulfiller.
The duties.
What is their role, though?
They're supposed to administer and wind up the estate, right? So normally, because it's especially in bigger estates or a more strenuous estates, you get the executor, right, who will then get the assistance of an attorney. And that attorney is called the administrator. They're not the executor. You're still the executor. So you still get to you're making the decisions. So me as an attorney will come to you and say, hey, this is what's going on. We've got this going on. I think we need to sell this property because the liability is too high. And then you'll decide. If you don't want to sell it, I can't force you to do that, right? And I then am working on your special power of attorney, on your instructions. You're telling me as executor what to do. But now the issue is when you pick the wrong executor or the executor is picked for you. A lot of the financial institutions will offer you a will.
Yes.
Ne?
Yep, we do that.
And they offer you for free.
Yes.
But now you don't know that they have by default put themselves as executor.
Yes.
Right? So when you just sign, they ask you how many assets you have, what do you want to do, but you haven't checked that paragraph, their executor.
Yeah.
And then what happens, you die and your estate is being winded up for 10 years. It means that your kids will not have food when you die.
For the next 10 years.
Because someone there is struggling to finish the estate, to finish the work that must be done.
Wow.
So it's important to pick your executor. Even if you go to these financial institutions and they tell you and you say, listen, I want a will. Thank you so much. I want a free will. You pick your executor because that is the most important. That's the person who's going to start and move your estate, right, to be distributed according to your will.
Wow.
And make sure it's done in an adequate time because, I mean, it's supposed to be done in a year, right? But you get estates that are sitting from 1999, there's still nothing's been done.
Nothing has been. But then you're getting me to another point. Dying interstate, and I heard that at the master's office at the moment, the queue is up to Timbuktu, right? What is the hold up? What could cause this hold up? And what does it result into in terms of the people that are impacted?
The admin of it all. I think the administrating that's happening in the different master's offices, there's a huge backlog. Because remember, when you die, they block all your accounts. They freeze your money.
Yes.
They freeze everything. Nothing is moving. So if your wife was a housewife and she was dependent on you, right? And they freeze your accounts. What's going to happen then?
Then what happens up until the whole...
And up until it's finished, up until it's complete. Because when you die, you have to open what they call a deceased estate bank account. Everything that you've had goes into that bank account, into that pool. And then basically how the process of the administration runs, right? Only at the end will it be determined who gets what, right? Going forward.
Wow. But then who opens that account? Who opens
the executor?
So
remember I told you the executor is like the most important person here.
That's it.
He or she is the runner of your deceased estate.
Wow.
Yeah.
How often in terms of the will and estate planning broadly, should we be reviewing the data and the information that we're giving?
Yes, so when your circumstances change, when you have kids, new kids, extra kids, whether they're in and out of marriage, whether they are, maybe you've got a beneficiary that has passed away, you'd revive it, right? So I always encourage clients that there's a wills week in September.
Yes.
Every year there's wills week. Every attorney during that week does wills for free. So I always encourage my clients, come back every September, right? If I've done, or we in the office have done your will last year, we'll remind you, wills work, has anything changed? Has your financial circumstances changed? Have you gotten an extra property that you haven't included last year?
Yes, yes.
And then you change it, you update it. Right. And always in the first paragraph of a will, right, it always says, I revoke every will I've made before.
Right. So whatever we're doing now,
yes,
supersedes whatever we've done prior to that.
Previously, yes.
I get it. I got the tools.
Yeah.
Now, talk to me about something called the Section 21.
So when you are married in commutative property,
yes,
and you're not happy, or you've just discovered on this podcast that I should have done out of commutative property. Yes. After reading, watching today, you're like, I really, really wish I was married out of commutative property.
Wow.
You can change your marital regime. It's called the Section 21 application. Yes. It's an application that you do to the court. Unfortunately, you do need assistance from an attorney because it's quite a hectic application that you do, right? And then you tell the courts, listen, I want to change my marital regime from in to out. So when that's done, or during that process, then they'll ask you, or then you'll tell the court that, listen, I want to change it, but this is what they call a post-nuptial agreement. So that post-nup is then made a court order. You then go and you take it to the deeds office and register your post-nup. You attach your court order and your post-nup saying, I've been given permission to be able to change my marital regime from in to out. But now here's the complicated thing. You have to let all your creditors know. So remember the basket of apples that I had, right?
Yes.
Every single bite of the apples, every single bite of the banana, every single bite, the creditor, you need to tell them that, hi, me and my husband are about to change our marital regime. Mm-hmm. Does it bother you?
And can they say no?
They can, yeah. They can defend and say.
Under what circumstances?
Because it makes more sense for you guys to be married to be together as in community than it does apart. So now you have to prove that the change of the marital regime will not prejudice my creditors.
Like the creditors.
Yes.
Wow. Estate planning and wills. Complex.
It is. It's very, very necessary. And I think people don't take it seriously and they don't know. Normally when people come with wills, or they'll come with a will that's handwritten.
Yes.
This is my will. Right?
Wow.
It has not met any of the formalities, but they say this is my will. Ne? I can go fight it out in court and say, yeah, this is your intention, this and this and this. But I would strongly advise to get the proper advice. Read, guys. Balang.
Get proper advice.
Get the proper advice. Consult with the attorneys. There's no leeway to assisting with the drafting of a will. It's available.
Wow. Kholo, thank you very much. Where there is a will, there's peace of mind. Let's go for the wills.